4 plumbing apprenticeship scams and red flags. Let's talk about it.
I'm Kenny Molotov, licensed plumber, professional magician, and entertainer. On this channel, I go through the ins and outs of my career in plumbing. I take you through a day in the life and we talk tools, theory, and mindset. I'm trying to give you an arsenal of knowledge and an online resource so you can take this trade head on and find yourself successful on the other end. Click subscribe, hit that bell notification, and let's talk pipes.
Peeps, Kenny Molotov here at home, and I wanted to give you a rundown of a few different things that I've heard throughout my apprenticeship and from a few friends on things that were sort of happening to them during their apprenticeship that really were big red flags as they thought about it down the road, so that you don't get scammed or you don't start seeing these red flags and get affected by them. Now, a couple of things you need to know. As an apprentice, you sort of are in a vulnerable position because you really want to kickstart your career. You really want to get into that position to be able to succeed in the long run and in the future. So being in that position and people knowing that you're in that position and seeing that you're eager to learn, there are ways of sort of taking advantage of individuals like that. And I wanted to make sure that if you are that sort of individual that's eager, I think that's the right attitude, but you just need to be a little bit careful if you start seeing these things happen, okay? Now, another thing I need to sort of stress before we get into it is that it is not necessarily the fact that if you hear these things that automatically it's a red flag, that automatically it might be a scam. You need to know that it really comes down to the individuals you're talking to follow through on things. Some people are going to promise you things and they're going to follow through on them. Those are individuals that you can rely on. Some people, though, are really good at finding out what you want and saying those words to you, and that is what you need to be aware of and worried of. So the first thing right off the bat that I think we should talk about in regards to being a red flag or a potential scam is when you get hired by a company and that company keeps telling you, yeah, we're gonna sign you up for your apprenticeship. And they say it once, and then a couple of weeks later you bring it up again, and they say it again, and then a couple of weeks after that they say it again, and before you know it, you're a couple of months into the job, you haven't really signed up as an apprentice, and you're sort of sitting back going, is this person really like planning on giving me an apprenticeship, or is this something that they just keep promising me? Like I sort of touched upon earlier, some people realize that you want to be an apprentice and that's really the card that'll make you work for this one particular company, and they kind of will use that against you and keep you doing the labor that you're supposed to be doing but not following through on the promises that they're giving you, which were the incentives for you to join the company. So a good workaround for something like this is actually handing them the papers that are necessary for them to sign you up as an apprentice. And that's what one of my buddies did. He had a company that he was working with, and I think he still works for this company, but they kept promising him that apprenticeship. And finally, when the opening happened and there was no apprentices being signed up, there was a spot for him, he sort of just approached them and handed them the papers and said, look, this is my apprenticeship papers. I've been talking about this for such a long time. I need you to sign these. I need to get started. I need to go to school. I need to get licensed. And that is a workaround when you sort of bump into companies and bump into business owners that are like this, okay? I think sometimes when people don't follow through in their promises, it might be an aspect of laziness, so it's not really quite a scam. It's just they never got around to getting the papers and printing them out and signing them for you and whatnot. But I do think there are some individuals out there that know you want to get your apprenticeship, are using you for that labor, and once a certain job might be done, they might kick you to the curb and say, you know what, it's okay, we appreciate it, business is a little bit slow. Another thing that you have to worry about in this regard is that there are some companies out there that don't look at it as an advantage for you to get your license. And those are usually companies that have licensed plumbers already standing by to do those sorts of jobs where you need licenses. But the reason why they might not think it's an advantage for you to have a license is they can train you up to be a decent plumber. But if you don't have a license, they don't have to pay you top dollar. And there are some companies out there that think that way, that think to themselves, well, why would I spend extra money on a licensed plumber when I can get a 5th-year apprentice who has the same skill level and I can pay them $10 cheaper every hour or $5 cheaper every hour. So there is that mentality out there, and I need you to be aware of it. It is a big red flag. It is potentially a scam, but it's something to be aware of. if you do find that it's happening, see if you can do the workaround I was telling you about, which is handing them the papers that they need to sign. See if they sign that, and then take it from there. It's not automatically a red flag. It's not automatically a scam unless you see that they're actually actively trying to stay away from the follow through on that. And this leads me to the second sort of red flag and the second sort of scam that sort of happens with plumbing apprentices, and it's this. It's a similar manifestation of the first one, but it has to do with money. Sometimes there are plumbers out there that'll hire an apprentice, quote unquote apprentice. They haven't signed you up and they don't follow through with payments. And this is a huge red flag. This for me is way more obvious than it would be for the previous example that I gave you. But whenever you meet somebody or a company that's not paying you in the right time, if they're supposed to pay you bi-weekly and they're not paying you and they're like, you know what, I'll get the rest on the next check, or, you know, I'll pay you at the end of the month. This is huge. This is a really big deal. This is a really scary position to be in because they still expect you to show up to work the following day. And that's something you have to understand. If you log an entire month's worth of pay and you never got paid for it and you continue to go, you sort of are digging a trench for yourself, and that hole is getting deeper and deeper and deeper. You know what I'm saying? So what you really have to do at some point is stand your ground and say, look, I'm not showing up Monday if I'm not getting my check for the past 2 weeks because I need money to survive. I don't have any money right now. I can't even pay for bus fare to show up to the spot, or I can't even pay for gas to show up to the job site. That is something eventually you're gonna have to do if it's a really big problem. Now look, I think there are some plumbers out there that are just starting out. They just got their truck, for example. They're licensed, they just got their truck, works a bit slow, they need the help, but they can't afford it right away until they get paid from the client. Sometimes when you're dealing with buildings, for example, the building won't pay you for a couple of weeks. It takes a month for them to give you a check. So then for you to pay your worker, you have to go into debt to do that. You know, you gotta go into your credit card account or whatever. So I think some people are trying to figure it out. Some bosses are trying to figure it out. And then what I'm really worried about is there are some bosses that are taking advantage of this situation because they know you wanna be there, they know you wanna work, and they know that you'll still show up on Monday if they didn't give you that check for the past 2 weeks. So what you need to do again is it might not automatically be a scam, it might not automatically be a major problem, but you need to collect data on this. You need to find out if this person is genuinely interested in paying you for your labor, in trading you for your labor. And if you find that they are, it might be something that this might just be a growing pain for that person's company. So you might not have to worry right away, but it is a red flag. Pay attention immediately and do your best to get that check. And if you don't get that check after a certain duration of time that you have to allot, you got to get out of there because you are trading labor for nothing. And that is really dangerous for you. You're not going to get your apprenticeship that way. It's just going to be a big mess in the long run. And I don't want to see you being a month into it to a month and a half into it to a couple months into it, finding out that, you know, you didn't get paid for an entire month. And then you got to take this person to small claims court. I mean, it's a big mess. So if you're not getting paid, it usually is a red flag and it's something to pay attention to. And it's something to start making a game plan to put into motion soon. So the third thing that I want to talk about is a red flag that a couple of subscribers have told me about that I want to bring up here because this has happened to them. And for me as a licensed plumber now, it's a little bit shocking and I don't understand the mentality around it. So for example, there's a little bit of bullying going on some job sites where you're a first-year apprentice and somebody else is a first-year apprentice or you're a second-year apprentice, and a bunch of people are actually viscerally upset with you for not being able to produce a certain amount of work. And when these subscribers were telling me about it, they were saying that, you know, they're being hounded every day about not being able to do certain things. And these subscribers have to remind them, hey, guys, I'm a first-year apprentice. I can't rough in a vanity. I don't know how to do that. And that's a really big red flag for me in regards to the mentality in the workspace. Because as a licensed plumber now, I'm really aware of how little I knew as a first-year apprentice, as a second-year apprentice, as a third-year apprentice. It's not until your third to fourth year that you start getting way more hands-on with the tools and way more active on the job site in regards to the building aspect of things. In my first few years of my apprenticeship, peeps, I was just cleaning up job sites, I was just cleaning pipes and fittings, and I was getting work fit as I described in other videos before. So there is not a lot of production taking place from a first year or second year apprentice. You're essentially green at that point. So if you find that you have customers that are actually upset and they're not sort of like busting your butt joking about it, it's sort of a weird place to be in, and it's sort of a moment where you have to sit back and think to yourself, is this the right environment for me? Because I think it's a little bit strange that somebody with so much experience is expecting somebody with little experience to be able to do things that they can do. You know what I'm saying? So the first thing that you have to figure out is whether people are joking with you and whether they're serious. There's a lot of people out there that will bust your butt, you know, and make fun of you for things. And, you know, even though it might be a little bit harsh, it's lighthearted and they're intended just to get a laugh out of people and a little bit of a rise out of you, see your blood boil a bit. But then there are aspects of this where people are actually angry with you and they're going, dude, what'd you do all day? And you're sitting back going, I don't know how to rough in a vanity. I don't know the sizes of the pipes. I don't know what a continuous vent is. What do you expect from me? I'm a first year apprentice. So you need to sort of gauge that, filter it out, and figure out whether it is just jokes or whether it is serious. And if it is serious, then you might want to start considering after a duration of time, especially if it doesn't get any better, and especially after you've let them know and reminded them, look, I'm first year, I'm pretty green, I don't know this stuff, I'm sorry. You know, sort of give me a break. If it doesn't get better after that, you might want to start considering finding another company potentially that has a better mindset in place. You know, it's a little bit of a toxic environment and it's not conducive to learning. That's another big thing. If you're constantly struggling with, oh crap, they're gonna be mad at me because I don't know something because, you know, I'm learning, that's not really a great environment to learn in. And the fourth and final scam sort of red flag that I want to bring up that you should know about, I've heard a few times. It's when plumbing company owners know you have little experience, but even though you have little experience, they're promising you the world. This is a little bit strange for me. I had a subscriber once message me and say that he was working as a plumber for 3 months. He had 3 months of experience, and that the business owner was already promising him a brand new truck the next month so that this person can now go and do service calls all by themselves. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, that is a little bit strange. After 3 months of plumbing, you don't know anything. If you started at 0 and you did 3 months worth of plumbing, you don't know anything about plumbing. And I don't mean that with disrespect. I just mean, look, you're still super green. I'm not even sure if you understand the tools yet and what tools you'll need to get the jobs done, let alone have the skills to get the jobs done. Man, if I look back at my 3-month plumbing apprenticeship, me in my 3rd month, I would have never sent myself to any job site, honest to God. And the subscriber also knew that this sounded a little bit odd, and that's why he was messaging us. He was asking, is this normal? Does this make sense? And right off the bat, I had to let him know, no, this doesn't really make much sense. I think this person is swindling you. In a sense, I think there's a smooth talking aspect that this person is doing to try to keep you at the job. But what I find really strange is if you dig into that a little bit more, if you dissect that a little bit more, the question becomes, why are they smooth talking to you to keep you in the job? And that's when it becomes a little bit of a scarier picture. Are they not paying you correctly? Are they maybe slow in getting their checks to you? Like, what is going on there that is making them act this way? This is a red flag that I need you to be aware of. If you are green and you know you're green, there's no reason that people should be promising you the world the next couple of months, meaning getting your own truck with your own tools and you going to job sites by yourself. It's just not possible. You don't have the skill set and you don't have the mentality yet. And it's actually quite dangerous as a business owner to send you places, because if you cut the wrong pipe because you're new to this, I mean, you're looking at thousands of dollars of damage that could have been avoided. So there's a responsibility issue that sort of underlies this entire thing. I don't understand if that person promising you the world is responsible enough to realize that, and that's why for me it's a huge red flag, and automatically it feels like there's a little bit of a scam scam going on. So peeps, I hope you like this video. This is something that I think is really important to plumbing apprentices out there because, as I said before, there is a vulnerability to being a plumbing apprentice. When people know you want to work, they sort of can take advantage of that situation, especially if you need something from them. So if you really need a plumbing apprenticeship, I can sort of drag it out if I'm the personality type to do it and be like, no, you're fine. We'll sign you up next month, or we'll sign you up in 2021, you know, etc. So keep these in mind, and remember, again, I need to stress this, just because they're happening doesn't mean there's automatically a scam going on at play, but they are sort of red flags, and you have to pay detailed attention to what's happening in the next few days and the next few weeks in order for you to make a good informed decision on whether you should stay with this company and with this plumber or not, sort of thing. So these are something to keep in mind. Please keep them in the back of your head to protect yourselves from falling into these traps that other plumbers that have talked to me have fallen into. Peeps, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know of any other traps that you might have experienced in your past down in the comments. I would love to be able to share that with the rest of the community, and I'll see you plumbers very soon. Kenny Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.